Nearly a week ago, tensions between Washington and Europe took another dramatic turn. This time, it was a public clash between President Donald Trump and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Merz openly accused the White House of mishandling its confrontation with Iran and even went so far as to say that the United States had been humiliated by Iranian negotiators. For Donald Trump, that was clearly a step too far. A visibly furious Trump reportedly retaliated by ordering the withdrawal of 5,000 American troops stationed in Germany as part of the NATO deployments. Now, whether this was a strategic signaling or an emotional response is open to debate. But one thing is undeniable. Relations between the United States and its European allies have been deteriorating steadily ever since Trump's return to power. And the latest trigger appears to be Europe's reluctance to fully back Washington and Israel in their confrontation with Iran. Trump also used the opportunity to lash out at countries like Spain and Italy for refusing to support the American position during the crisis. But if we strip away the headlines and political theatrics, a much bigger geopolitical reality begins to emerge. For quite some time now, it has become increasingly clear that the United States may no longer be willing to indefinitely underwrite Europe's security through NATO. And if that happens, Europe will have to prepare to defend itself. Because the original purpose of the NATO was straightforward, protecting Western Europe from potential Russian aggression. But today, with America's long-term commitment to NATO looking more uncertain by the day, European leaders are beginning to confront a difficult question. What happens if Russia tests Europe militarily and America chooses not to respond? This is precisely why French President Emmanuel Macron has repeatedly argued for a unified European military command. Macron has been among the strongest voices calling for Europe to stop depending entirely on Washington and start building its own collective defense structure. And interestingly, this is something we at theglobalheadwinds.com have also been discussing for quite some time. In fact, the current geopolitical environment may offer Europe a historic opportunity. An opportunity to put aside internal divisions and create a truly unified military structure by integrating the enormous military resources that already exist across NATO-aligned European countries. We recently conducted a simple comparative analysis of the European and Russian military capabilities. And for this assessment, we also included United Kingdom and Norway, countries that may not be part of the European Union, but remain absolutely critical to Europe's security architecture. Because in reality, continental Europe cannot defend itself effectively without British and Norwegian participation. Russian naval movements in the North Atlantic and submarine operations near the Norwegian Sea and the English Channel make that strategically obvious. And the conclusion from the analysis was quite revealing. Europe already possesses enough combined military strength to balance and in many areas even offset Russian military power. The real problem is not capability. The real problem is political unity and leadership. Of course, there is another major issue that Europe must confront: nuclear deterrence. At present, only Britain and France possess nuclear weapons in Europe. So if Europe is serious about building a post-American security structure, it must create a nuclear umbrella arrangement where British and the French nuclear capabilities protect not just themselves, but all participating European nations. In simple terms, any attack, whether conventional or nuclear, against one European country must be treated as a threat against all. And if necessary, British and French nuclear deterrence should extend across the continent, because history has already shown us a harsh reality. Had Ukraine possessed nuclear weapons, Russia may never have invaded it in the first place. But defense today is not just about nuclear weapons. Modern warfare also demands integrated air defense systems, rapid coordination, and seamless deployment of military assets across the borders. Which is why Europe would also need a unified continental air defense command. Such a structure would allow European countries to coordinate missile defense systems, transfer military assets rapidly during crisis, and jointly procure advanced technologies, including platforms like Israel's Iron Dome. But none of this can happen unless Europe first overcomes its internal division. And that is the real challenge. Because creating a unified European defense structure would require leaders to think beyond narrow national politics and focus instead on collective continental security. The stakes are simply too high. Failure to act could leave Europe dangerously exposed in an increasingly unstable world. and the warning signs are already visible in Ukraine. The uncomfortable truth is this: time may no longer be on Europe's side.